Good morning. Welcome to Conversations Here and Now. My name is Naresh, and it's a beautiful day to talk about traffic congestion in the GTA. All of us who live in the GTA and travel in the GTA know how difficult traveling around the GTA in a car can be. I want to start by looking at why it is that travel is not good on the roads surrounding the GTA. So let's look at reasons, and one of the biggest reasons for notoriously congested Toronto roads, GTA roads, is rapid population growth. Rapid population growth, yes. The GTA, the entire GTA, is one of the fastest growing regions in North America. Population is exploding in this area. Everybody comes from wherever they're coming from, whether it's outside of Canada, whether it's in Canada when they move around, they're settling in the GTA for obvious reasons. So we're having a huge rapid population growth. As more people move to Toronto and suburbs like Mississauga, Brampton, Vaughan, and Markham, the number of daily commuters has skyrocketed. Car dependency. So that was reason number one, rapid population growth. Number two, car dependency. Many neighborhoods, especially in the suburbs, are designed around car use with limited access to frequent, reliable public transit. So commuters, what ends up happening then is commuters often have to rely on the like 401, 400, 403, 404, DVP, Gardner, QEW, so forth and so on. And I used to say, well, most weekday mornings and weekday evenings, they're jam-packed. It happens on the weekdays, it happens on the weekends. It's all the time now. Weekdays, everybody has to go to work, and weekends, everybody's running downtown or wherever they're going to attend their social stuff or whatever they're attending. So it's busy all the time now, right? But people depend a lot on their cars. Car dependency. We are far too dependent on our car. Number three reason for the congested roads is inadequate transit expansion. So investment in public transit hasn't kept up with population growth. That's absolutely true, 100%. Population has exploded, but public transit has basically about remained the same, right? So projects like the Eglinton Crosstown LRT and Ontario Line are years behind schedule, leaving riders with fewer alternatives to driving. So a lot of people end up driving. Reason number four, urban sprawl. Low density housing developments in the suburbs force people to travel long distance to jobs, schools, or services. This increases the number of lengths of car trips, overloading regional roads and highways. A lot of people can't afford homes. If they work in Mississauga or Toronto, they can't afford homes in those areas because it's extremely expensive, really expensive. So what they end up doing is going out towards Burlington, they go out towards Waterdown, Hamilton, even Grimsby, and then they travel in to Mississauga and even to Toronto, and they drive. So when you have that happening, QEW is going to be packed. 401 is going to be, if they're coming from Milton going all the way to Toronto or York region. I know, people who work in York and they live in like Milton. So that travel is big long travel. So basically, they get hop on the 401 and they do it every morning and then coming back every evening. So that's the reason. Fifth reason for the congested roadways is traffic bottlenecks and poor design. So the key routes like 401, Gardner, and QEW are among the busiest highways in North America, maybe even in the world, possibly. Sometimes you think it's the busiest in the world. When you're stuck on the 401 or you're stuck on the QEW or Gardner, right? So they're not well designed to be able to handle. A lot of these roads were built for traffic in 50, 60 years ago. 3-lane high, but 3 lanes each side, and they can't handle it. Yes, some places, the government of Ontario has made them 4 or 5 lanes, like the 400, right? 404, 427. But, in a lot of places on the 401, and especially QEW, that really hasn't happened. So it's basically still remain 3 on each side. So limited alternative routes and frequent lane merges create congestion hotspots. So the highways themselves are not properly designed to handle a lot of traffic. Construction and road work. That's the reason number 6. We always have construction everywhere, whether it's on the Gardner, whether it's on the 401, whether it's 427. Construction is always going on at 427 and 401. Constant road work, much of it overdue maintenance or infrastructure upgrades, frequently closes lanes or slows traffic. Okay? Poor coordination of construction schedules worsens the issue. There's construction within the city. There's construction within the city of Toronto that closes off roads or cuts down the number of lanes, creating traffic congestion. There's construction on the highways. You know, when you take Gardner, whichever it may be, cuts down on the number of lanes to travel and it makes congestion worse. So constant construction and road work. Poor traffic management in the city. You know, a lot of times when you come in the city, when you're traveling in the city and you come up to a red light, that lights change to red, but on the other side, there's nobody there. And you wonder, why did this light change to red for me? There was nobody else on the other side. So that's poor traffic management. Traffic signals are not optimized or synchronized properly. That happens a lot, and that slows down traffic. If there's nobody on the other side waiting to cross, then through traffic should keep going. But so many times you see light changes to red for no reason whatsoever. A lack of real-time adaptive traffic systems means gridlock builds quickly during peak hours. So in peak hours, we all know, whether it's in the morning or in the evening, it's the traffic will obviously increase many times. But there really is no answer for that. There really, everything is still the same as in daytime, as in the evening, as in the morning, right? So poor traffic management. And one of the biggest ones that we all complain about is freight and commercial traffic. Always on the highways and roadways, we see so many these big transport trucks, 18-wheelers. Toronto is a major logistics hub, and heavy trucks share the roads with commuters. And there's always the feeling that they slow traffic down. So, freight movement often overlaps with peak commute hours, increasing congestion. So, that's a little bit difficult one to solve, but that is a big problem when you have so many trucks on the highways and roadways all times of the day. And the last one is, limited cycling and walking infrastructure. Despite some improvements, Toronto still lacks, and this is just more for Toronto because it's a bigger city, Toronto still lacks widespread safe cycling and pedestrian infrastructure. In my humble opinion, you need more cycling lanes. People, especially people who live in Toronto and work in Toronto and close by, if they can safely bike to their work, why not? Why not? So if you don't have those bike lanes, people don't feel safe cycling. I wouldn't. Even with the bike lanes, you still kind of feel unsafe. But without them, cars are whizzing by you. So people get concerned about their safety and just end up taking a car to where they're going. And think about that. That increases thousands of times, and you have thousands of more cars on the road. So those are some of the reasons that the traffic is bad. So what can be done about that? It's nice to list, but what can be done? What can the governments try and do? So one of the first, in the GTA, to improve traffic congestions, one of the first things you can do is expand and accelerate public transit projects. That is critical. You go to any city in Europe, tons of public transit, whether it's by rail, by subways, so easy to travel with public transit. So you have to expand and accelerate public transit projects, finish to date projects like Eglinton Crosstown LRT and Ontario Line as quickly as possible. Invest in regional transit, regional not each city having their own transit. You got to invest in regional transit, so more frequent and electrified GO train service to help commuters from suburbs leave their cars at home, right? Or at least leave it at the GO train station. You can drive to GO train station, take the GO right to Toronto. More if there was more, you don't just in the morning and in the evening. You got to have them all day, right? People are now traveling at all times, not just in the morning or in the evening. And in the morning, you got to have more trains. You got to have more reliable trains. You got to have good regional transit. You got to be able to take a bus from Mississauga, go bus from Mississauga all the way to several points in Toronto, especially Union Station. Yes, you have that now, but you need more of them, more, so the buses don't get packed, right? So create more bus rapid transit lanes for high-speed surface transit in underserved areas. So how you sometimes on the highways you see lanes are just for the buses. You need more of those, right? So people can take buses across the highways. Second thing you can do is introduce smart traffic management. Now we got AI coming into everything, so we can use AI and real-time data to adjust traffic signals dynamically. You gotta do that, because you know what? You get so sick and tired of a red light pops up for absolutely no reason. You're sitting there for 4 or 5 minutes and there's no traffic on the other side going across. They gotta adjust those signals so the lights don't change unless there is somebody that's waiting to cross, right? Coordinate construction projects better to minimize road closures and lane reductions during rush hours. Construction is everywhere, but a lot of times it seems haphazard and not controlled properly, right? So whether it's construction that's in Toronto or whether it's construction that's on the highways, it has to be coordinated better so people can travel properly, right? So that will cut down on some of the congestion. Expand use of ramp metering and smart lanes on highways. Yes, absolutely, you need ramp metering, or you take a ramp to go onto a highway. Not everybody's just piling into the highway. Some of the QEW, I think, people who've traveled in Mississauga, they come up from the ramp, they just wait there until it's safe to go, and then you go. It only takes extra 3 seconds, but it works. It coordinates traffic properly, right? That's point number 2, introduce smart traffic management. Point number 3, encourage mixed use and high density development. This is really important as well. Promote transit oriented development so people can live, work, and shop without long car trips. Right now you can't building homes in Caledon, you're building homes in Milton, you're building homes. Milton is one of the fastest growing communities, but it's a bedroom community. People just live there. They work everywhere else. Mississauga, they live in, go work in Toronto, York region, whatever, right? So people were buying new homes in Burlington, right? Waterdown, places like that. Cambridge, Guelph, they all mostly work towards Mississauga and Toronto. So end up having to take your car everywhere. So so you got to build again. It comes back to the point where you have to build more GO train, right? If you work in Toronto, live in Toronto, I'd buy a condo in Toronto. I'd just get out of my condo every morning and walk to work or bike to work if I could. If we had bike lanes, again, see, all of this ties in together, right? But, the problem also is that people, as a single, maybe 2 people can live in a condo, but when you end up having a family, then you want a house and you can't afford a house in Toronto. That's really expensive. You go to Mississauga, it's still expensive. So you go out towards Georgetown and Brampton, right? And then you end up having to travel, whether you do it most likely by car, right? So zoning for more mid-rise buildings near major transit lines and employment hubs to reduce sprawl, right? So, but unfortunately, I think there's not so much room left to build in near highway, or subways. So all the construction right now for new homes is mostly happening outside of Toronto area, even outside of Mississauga area now, right? Build safer infrastructure for cycling and walking. This is point 4, as I've said before. Create a connected network of protected bike lanes throughout downtown and across major corridors. People can go 25, 30 kilometers on a bike, sure. And, a lot of people might not, but there's a lot of people that will. They love biking, right? So improve pedestrian access around transit stations and major roads, right? You got to be able to walk to your transit. Provide bike share stations near residential and business areas. These are steps that can be taken to get people out of their cars. Provide bike share stations. Now, we know what those are in Toronto. Everybody's seen those. You can, take a bike, get to your destination, and leave it there. You see that in Mississauga all the time. You have bikes, you have like e-bikes, right? So point number 5 to improve traffic congestion is manage road demand. Introduce congestion pricing or tolling in highly trafficked areas like Gardner or DVP during peak hours. Obviously, that idea was brought about in London, England, where if you're driving into downtown London, then you had to pay a toll every morning. People started using, and London's got a pretty good subway system, so people started using subway a lot more, and it cut down on the congestion, right? So, yes, so governments have to be able to stand up and say, yeah, we're going to take this step. Yes, it's not politically popular, but we're going to take that step, right? And it would cut down on congestion in downtown area. If, let's say, between the hours of 7 to 10, if you went into Toronto with your car, you had to pay a toll. Absolutely, right? And whatever, people will still use it. Money raised from that toll should go towards improving transit, right? You have to have HOV and HOT lanes on highways. Yes, we see that now. Some places, not all places, and they don't go on for, they do end. So we see them on QEW, we see them on 401, I've seen them on 427, but they're on and off. Some places they have them, some places they don't have them. You gotta have constant HOV lanes where only 2 people are allowed in a car, right? Or you have to have a motorcycle, or you have to pay for your permit to travel in that lane, right? So what that means is people, you see when you're on the highway, look around you. How many people in cars? Every car has got mostly one person, mostly, right? So to go into the HOV lane, you need to have 2 people or more, right? So that if you could do more of that, give people the chance to be able to do that because the HOV lanes are there, then they will do that, and people will carpool. So instead of 5 cars going into a company, you may only have 1 car with 5 people in that car, right? For most of the times. And use dynamic pricing for parking downtown to reduce cruising for spots, right? Parking downtown, make it more expensive. So people don't drive around looking for cheap spots. People just don't drive around. People just don't even bring the car down. Well, it's going to cost me $30 for the day to park. It's the Ontario parking. So that discourages people from bringing their cars. Use GO Transit, use subways, right? Better freight management. So point number 6, designate freight-only lanes or off-peak delivery hours to reduce the impact of commercial traffic. As I've mentioned before, that's one of the major causes of congestion is freight, big trucks. So if you could designate freight-only lanes, I don't know if that will happen, but that's a good idea. Or they drive only at night when the car traffic is less, or after 8 o'clock in the evening. If you could designate better hours for them to travel, maybe that might be the answer. Use logistics hubs outside the core to consolidate and reroute cargo more efficiently. So everything is based right in downtown, not just downtown, but Mississauga. Everything's based in Brampton. So these guys have to travel on the 401, QEW, 427, etc. to get to their hubs, to pick up their stuff, to pick up their trucks, right? So if you had logistics hubs outside the core, then they wouldn't have to travel to those, right? Subsidize and promote transit use. Offer lower fares, free transfers, and discount passes to make transit more attractive. Instead of making transit fare more expensive, right? You should be making it affordable, so more people will take it, like GO Train or GO Bus, from Square One to right to Union Station. There should be GO buses going to other areas of Toronto, not just to Union Station, right? You should maybe be able to write off some of that. It's expensive now to take the GO train. You should be able to write, maybe you can. Some people can write it off, but a lot of people can't, right? It is expensive now. I think maybe $8-9 one way. That adds up too for everybody, right? So encourage remote and flexible work. Incentivize companies to maintain hybrid or staggered work hours to flatten rush hour demand. When COVID came and everybody started working from home, that was great. See how much traffic went less on the highways? Pollution got better. They actually did studies on that, and it showed that pollution got better. The traffic was so much less because people were allowed to work from home, and they can work from home. It works. Meetings are on Zoom, everything, all that works. But lately, especially I've heard in the last 2 or 3 weeks, companies are now going back to all, starting in the new year coming, 2026, companies are saying, nope, no more to that. No more to hybrid work. Everybody has to get back to office. And guess what's going to happen when everybody gets back to the office, right? Cars are going to be back on the road. You're going to be jammed into congestion again. When the solution is there, work from home. Why not work from home? It works. People can do it, right? Maybe hybrid then, at least 2 days a week out of the 5, 2 days you go into work, 3 days you work from home. You know what? Anything. And stagger those days. Don't have to be the exact same days. So you stagger the traffic. That is a really good thing. But apparently that's going to be ending now. Most companies want people to come back to work full time in your buildings. Use zoning and tax policy to support live work developments and home-based business. People should get tax breaks to be able to work from home. As I've said, people should get tax breaks to use transit. People definitely should get tax breaks to use transit. That would encourage more transit use. Listen, I mean, what's the government doing? What's the government of Ontario doing right now? And I'm not out to bash, the government of Ontario, Doug Ford's government. He's done some good stuff, right? He's stood up to Trump and et cetera and all that kind of stuff. We know that he's done some good work. He's doing some good work, but improvements can always be made to things. But especially, I'm only looking at traffic management today. So what he's done, he's initiative areas. What are they doing? Highway and HOV expansion, widening 401, 400 corridors, HOV lanes, Gardner rehab, toll removal on a portion of 407. Again, these are highway things. Yes, they're building more HOV lanes, widening the highways, right? Corridor projects and new routes. Highway 413, 413 is coming. Bradford bypass, Highway 401 tunnel feasibility. That I did previously an entire podcast on Highway 401 tunnels. That's not happening. Okay, that's not going to do anything right now. That's a 25-year timeline. That's not going to fix any traffic tomorrow. Highway 413 hasn't been built yet. And even when it's built, I don't know how much it's going to reduce traffic on the 401. Really, it's billions of dollars, right? That billions of dollars can be used to improve your public transit, GO Transit, subways, LRTs, things like that. 413 is not going, you're just incentivizing people to just take more highways, right? You're not, by building these highways, incentivizing people to take more transit. That's not what it is. It's not a thing. It's not. Policy and planning, transit-oriented communities, right? Bike lane approval restrictions. Bike lane approvals have been restricted. Bike lanes have been removed. Collaborative management during transit bills. Congestion enforcement tools and permits. They haven't really done anything in that area. So, you know what, I'm not out to bash Doug Ford's government, but they can do a lot more. They can do a hell of a lot more to improve public transit. Public transit is the way to go. When you go to any European city, tons of public transit. You get subways, trams, you got buses, just massive amounts, right? You can go from area to area. New York's subway system is great. Washington, D.C., subway system is great. You can go, you get all these different lines that take you on all these different areas. and fast and efficient. Toronto doesn't have that. We don't have that kind of subway system, right? So those are the things that Doug Ford needs to do. You got to do more towards that rather than just build tunnels, which will never work, and highways, right? How many people take the 407? It is prohibitively expensive now to take the 407 unless your company pays for it, or you're forced to take it, or you can somehow write it off. So 407 is not the answer, right? It's public transit and the other measures that I've mentioned. So that's my take on congestion in the GTA. Thank you for listening. And if you like what I have said, then put it in the comments, please. If you don't like what I said, and if you got some other answers, put it in the comments, please. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Turn on your notifications. Doesn't cost you anything, and it helps me out. It's free. All right? Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.